There are wounds that never show on the body that are deeper and more hurtful than anything that bleeds. Laurel K. Hamilton said this in her book Mistral's Kiss, and I believe that there is nothing more noble than exposing these wounds for everyone to see. Kevin Briel did exactly this in his TED Talk, Confessions of a Depressed Comedian. Kevin Briel was once a high school basketball star, thespian, and stand-up comedian. During those years, Kevin seemed to have everything that a teenager could want. However, beneath the surface, he was a young man plagued by depression. After suffering for years, Kevin nearly took his own life. In his TED Talk, he challenges the stigmatism that has been put on mental illness and yearns for a time when depression is accepted as the same as a broken arm. Kevin grabbed the attention of his audience by making a substantial admission about himself, that he suffers from depression. He makes his confession more shocking by first talking about how others would describe him in such a positive manner. After seeing Kevin and hearing about who he is, it is startling to hear that he is someone dealing with such a disease. Kevin maintains the attention of his audience in a number of ways. Firstly, he is great at emphasizing phrases through repetition. Secondly, he makes himself very vulnerable. By making personal confessions and speaking about emotional topics, he is able to gain sympathy from an audience. At the same time, this increases his credibility as a genuine speaker. Thirdly, Kevin makes bold challenges against society. He exposes the stigmatism against mental illness and calls for its elimination. When someone goes against the grain like this, it is sure to grab attention. The TED commandment that Kevin follows best is number 6. Thou shalt not flaunt thine ego. Be thou vulnerable. Speak of thy failure as well as thy success. I believe that he does this extremely well by speaking of the lowest point of his life, the night that he nearly ended his own life. Someone in that state could not be more vulnerable. But then he also does a good job of bouncing back, and also demonstrates his successes. The fact that he is alive, and making kids like him know that they are not alone. Kevin Briel and Sir Ken Robinson were similar in that they both set out to challenge a certain stigmatism against society. Kevin highlighted the stigmatism against mental illness, while Sir Ken focused on the stigmatism against creativity as compared to literacy and mathematics. Other than this, however, the two were extremely different. Kevin maintained a very serious demeanor. Ken, on the other hand, had his audience laughing throughout his presentation. Also, Kevin frequently walked back and forth and looked down at the ground. Conversely, I don't believe that Ken's feet moved just a bit, and his eye contact was impeccable. I would say that Kevin Briel scored a 4 on the dynamism scale, due in large part to his openness and forward thinking. In order to see Kevin reach a 5, I would have loved to see him maintain a stage presence that Sir Ken Robinson displayed. With more constant eye contact and less distracting body language, Kevin could have been a near-perfect speaker. When it comes to delivery, Kevin Briel taught me that it is very important not to hold back your emotions. By making yourself vulnerable and exposing yourself, you gain much credibility with your audience. Based on his TED Talk, I would advise my classmates to be like Kevin and put all shame aside. An audience wants to see a speaker for who they truly are, no matter how different they may think they are. Overall, Kevin Briel was a fantastic speaker. He spoke from the heart while challenging society to change their views on a lethal disease. His stage presence did not quite hold up to that of Sir Ken Robinson, but nonetheless he made a huge impact on his audience as well as myself. In fact, I believe that the emotion with which he spoke made up very well for the swaying and broken eye contact. At the end of the day, we need more people like Kevin to speak their minds and attempt to change this very world that we live in.